Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, isn't it? Because of that, we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean that we are going to stop learning. We are going to meet here regularly through the virtual training center to learn many lessons in EVS. So come on, let's go to a lesson in EVS. So children, come on, let us do another lesson in standard 3rd EVS. So now before we go to the lesson and before I tell you the name of the lesson, I want you to carefully look at the things that are there on the screen for you. So what things do you see here children? You can see cups, okay? You can see spoons and you can see a grater, you can see a fork. So what do you think we are going to talk about in this lesson? We are going to talk about something which is related to all these vessels or all these utensils. So when we talk about a fork, when we talk about a spoon, when we talk about grater, what are they related to? They are related to food, isn't it? So come on, in this 3rd standard EVS lesson, we will talk about food, and the name of the lesson is lesson number 14 in your textbook, Inside the Kitchen. So when we are going to talk about inside the kitchen, we will talk about the food that we eat and the various methods in which we cook the food and eat, and sometimes we also tend to eat the food raw, that is we eat the food without cooking. So this entire lesson will be about different kind of food and the different ways in which we cook the food. And I'm going to show you a lot of beautiful pictures of tasty food, okay? So I'm sure you will enjoy this lesson. So come on, let us start the lesson and let us talk about the kitchen. But before we enter the kitchen, let us look at the house in general. So this is a house, children. This is a home. Home is a place where people live. And when you are inside your home, you do so many different activities, isn't it? You sleep, you watch a TV, you play games, alright? You have a bath, you clean yourself, and of course you also eat. So there are different places in the house for doing all these different things. So come on, let's take a look at these different places in a house, which we can call as parts of a house. So see, this is a house. So imagine that you are on top of the house. You are flying on top of the house and someone has removed the roof of the house. Just like you remove the lid of a dabba, in the same way you have removed the roof of the house. So now you can see the entire house from above. Okay? So now come on, let's see what all things are there, or what all places or what all parts are there to a house. Now some people might have big houses like this. Some people might have small houses. So it depends on where you're living, children. If you're living in a city, then you have very less space, okay? So we have small houses. But maybe this house is in a village or it is far away from the city. So see, it is a big house. So come on, let's see what are the parts of this house. So we have a place which we call as the living room. So look at the living room carefully. You can see a sofa set there. Sometimes you sit there and watch television. You play games. You can also sometimes go to sleep, okay? But your mummy will, she will scold you if you sleep on the sofa. She will ask you to go and sleep on the bed, alright? So when we sleep, where do we sleep? On the bed. And where is the bed kept? See, the bed is kept here. And this is the bedroom, okay? The place where we sleep is called as the bedroom. And I told you, this is a big house. So this house has got 2 bedrooms. So see here, this is one bedroom and this is the other one. So there are 2 bedrooms over here. Along with bedrooms, you also have, I told you, places where we brush, where we have a bath, where we use the toilet. So these we will call them as washrooms. Alright, so there are 2 washrooms in this house. See, there are 2 washrooms here. And finally, we come to the lesson or the topic that we are going to talk about today. and that is the kitchen. So can you see here? This is the kitchen in this house. And the kitchen is supposed to be the soul of the house. Why? Because food is a basic necessity, isn't it? And all the food that we eat, it comes from the kitchen. Your mummy cooks food in the kitchen, isn't it? So this is our lesson for today. We are going to talk about things which are there inside the kitchen. So now see, this is how a kitchen in a home like yours or mine looks. So you have a kitchen table and you have a sink in the corner where you can wash vessels, when you can fill water. There is a gas stove, there is a earthen pot you can see, and there is places for storing your things. Alright, so this is an ordinary kitchen. A kitchen like you can see in everyone's house. Okay, so now before we talk about what all things we do inside the kitchen, let us talk about what comes to our mind when we talk about kitchen. So when I say kitchen, what comes to your mind? Yes, the first word that comes to your mind is food. Whenever you are hungry, where do you rush to? You rush towards the kitchen, isn't it? So when we talk about kitchen, we think about food. See here, this is all the different kind of food that your mummy prepares, isn't it? Okay, so whatever food that we eat is prepared in the kitchen. Sometimes by our mummy, sometimes by our papa, sometimes by our dadi. Okay, see, all the things that we eat is made in the kitchen. And this process of making food is called as cooking. See this boy, how he is cooking? Okay, so whenever you make food, what do? You cook. So the process of making food is called as cooking. See here, someone's mummy is cooking, na? Alright, cooking. But now, cooking is also done in different ways. See here, he is doing something else. See, she is doing something else. And this lady here, she is also cooking in a different way. So cooking can be done in different ways. Food can be cooked in different ways. So we are going to look at to how food is cooked, what are the different ways in which you cook food, what are the different kind of things that you use in order to cook food. Okay, so all these things we are going to learn in this very, very interesting lesson that we have today. So let us take an example of making puris. All of us love to eat puris, isn't it? We love to eat shrikhand puri, we love to eat kheer puri, we love to eat shira puri or halwa puri. So come on, let us take a look at how these puris are made. So first you have to knead the dough. Okay, now for kneading the dough, we do not need to use any kind of gas or anything. We just need to use our hands and a vessel and the flour. So we are kneading the dough. This is called as kneading the dough. Okay, making the atta. Then what do? Then you roll out. See, now she will roll out. Okay, let's wait for a second. Let's see how she will roll out. There, she will roll out now. See here. So she's rolling out. So we roll out the puris. Alright. See. After that, what do? We put the puri in the hot oil and we fry the puris. So this is how the puri comes onto your plate. Alright, along with the sabji. So that means sometimes we fry the food. Fry the food means we heat the oil and we put the food into the hot oil and we cook it in the hot oil. That is called as frying. In a similar way, we make use of, you must have seen here, they have used what to fry the food? They've made use of the gas stove. See here also, gas stove, isn't it? But sometimes, children, people who do not have gas stoves, people who are living in the villages even now, they make use of these kind of stoves to cook food. Okay, see this kind of stove. These are kerosene stoves. Alright, some with a wick and some with a burner. See, this is a gas stove. So in order to make puris, you can make use of this gas stove. Some people who are living in villages, they do not have gas connections. What do? They make use of these kind of chulhas also in order to fry the puris. Okay, so that means you can use different methods in order to fry your puris. Not only your puris, if you're making any kind of food, you can make use of different methods in order to cook the food. So what is the meaning of cooking methods? See, you can see so many different pictures here, isn't it? You can see water boiling. So there someone is boiling the food. There in the other picture, someone is baking the food. Okay, so these are all different methods of cooking the food. Frying also we saw just now when we were making the puris. Alright, so these are all different ways in which you can cook your food. These are all called as cooking methods. We call them as cooking methods. So what is the meaning of cooking? Let us see now. So cooking means what? Cooking is nothing but the transfer of heat to food. So when we transfer the heat from the stove to the food and the food becomes tastier, then we say that we are cooking the food. So that means whichever way you are cooking, whether you are boiling, whether you are frying, whether you are baking, you need to have heat, because heat is very important. Okay, cooking itself means transfer of heat. So heat is very, very necessary to cook food. So without heat, you will not be able to cook food. So then where do you get this heat from? We get the heat from the stove, the cooking gas, etc. Okay. So now before we talk about the various sources of heat, let us talk about the various kind of food that we eat. So can you see so many grains and pulses on this page? You can see rice, you can see wheat, you can see chana, alright, and you can see different kind of dal. So see, these are all the things that we eat. But remember children, all these things here on the screen, they have to be cooked before eating. We cannot eat them raw. If you try to eat them raw, what will happen? You will get indigestion. Okay, you will not be able to digest this food and you will get a bad stomachache. So there are certain foods that need to be cooked before we eat them. Whereas there are certain other kinds of food which you can try to eat raw also. So in our food, we include grains and we include vegetables. See, what are the vegetables here? There are so many different vegetables. We eat some of them on a daily basis, isn't it? So we have tomatoes, we have ladyfinger, we have potatoes, brinjal, spinach, cauliflower, carrots. So there are different kinds of vegetables here. Some of us like some vegetables, some of us like some other vegetables. So vegetables are also an important part of our food. And then we also eat non-vegetarian food, like we eat chicken, we eat eggs, we eat fish. Not all of us, some of us. Okay, some of us prefer not to eat food which is non-vegetarian, and some of us like to eat non-vegetarian food also. So these are the different kind of food that we eat. But look at this picture children. Here you can see certain kinds of food which can be eaten raw also. If someone cuts a plate of tomatoes and they put some salt on it and they give you, will you be able to eat it? Yes, and it will taste also very nice, isn't it? You can eat corn raw, you can eat beetroot raw, you can eat onions raw. So there are certain foods that we eat every day which need not be cooked. I am saying need not. You can cook them also, but you can eat them raw also. Now rice and wheat and jawar, we cannot eat them raw. Alright, you have to cook them somehow or the other. But these kind of vegetables, you can also cook them or you can eat them raw. Okay, so there are many things that you can eat raw. Then there are some kind of food which you can fry and eat. Fried food. You saw how we fried the puri in the beginning of the lesson. So in the same way, You can fry certain kinds of food before you eat them. So see here, we are frying French fries, and someone is frying a kind of a vada or cutlet or something. So fried food. Fried food should not be eaten in large quantities because it is not good for health. Okay? See how the French fries are frying away in oil. So this is fried food. This is a type of food. Okay, see, someone is frying some chicken here, fried chicken. So this is fried food. So fried means what, children? When we take oil, we heat the oil and we put the food inside the oil to cook it in the hot oil. That is called as frying. Some kind of food is also steamed. See, idlis are a very famous kind of steamed food. Food that you can eat steamed means you do not directly put it into the water. You place it above boiling water so that the steam which comes from the boiling water touches the food and it gets cooked. This, children, is a very, very healthy way of eating. So you should try to avoid fried food, but you should try and eat steamed food. What is the other thing that you can see on your screen? I told you I'm going to show you pictures of many tasty things today. So the other thing which you can see on your screen are modaks, Ganpati Bappa's favorite, isn't it? We always make modak during Ganesh festival. So modaks are also steamed food. Okay, so you can fry the food, you can steam the food. See, you can even roast the food. So here you can see two different kind of rotis. So one is rice roti and the other one is wheat roti. So rice roti we call it as bhakri and wheat roti we call it as chapati. So what is this method of making food called, children? It is called as roasting. Why? Because we are not using too much oil. We are putting the food on a hot surface. So what is the hot surface? Can you see the tawa there? So your mummy rolls out the chapati and she puts it on the hot tawa. So what happens? The chapati takes heat from the tawa and it cooks itself. Okay? So what do we call this kind of cooking? We call it as roasting. And this kind of food is called as roasted food. Okay? So along with frying and along with steaming, roasting is one more way in which we cook food. See here, someone is roasting a roti. Can you see? See, is there any oil there? There is no oil at all on the tawa. The roti has been put on the tawa and because of the heat it is rising up. Okay, so this is called as roasting. You can also boil certain foods. When I told you about steaming, when you steam, what do? You do not put the food inside the water. You place it above the boiling water. But when you are boiling the food, what do? You put the food inside water and you boil the water. So the heat from the boiling water gets transferred to the food and the food gets cooked and it becomes tasty. So see here, we are boiling maize or corn and someone is boiling noodles, someone is boiling eggs. Okay, boiled food is also good for your health. So let us look at one more image of boiling food. Here, what is boiling? Maggi is boiling. Everyone likes to eat Maggi noodles? Most of us, yes, we like to eat Maggi noodles. Okay, when mummy is not there at home, our didi or our bhaiya, they make Maggi noodles for us. So this is noodles. How do you cook noodles? By boiling them. So boiling is another way of cooking. See here, boiling eggs. Okay, sometimes we make omelette out of egg and sometimes we just boil the eggs. Okay, so boiling is another way of cooking. And then we have roasting. Roasting means what? We place the food directly on the fire. Okay, that roasting where you placed a tawa was different, and this is one more roasting. This is also called as tandoor in Hindi, and this is called as grilling in English. Okay, you grill the food. What do you do when you grill the food? You roast the food but directly on the fire without using any tawa or kadai or oil in the middle. So see, these are all different kind of food which is getting roasted, and you can see how it is directly on the fire for getting roasted. here. Alright, so this is all roasting. This is how you roast the food. Okay children, many of us we like also roasted food, isn't it? We call it tandoori and we love to eat tandoori food. So this is one more way of, you can say, cooking, that is by grilling the food. That is roasting it on open fire. Now let's come to some of the foodstuffs which can be eaten raw. Now we looked at many foodstuffs which has to be fried or boiled or steamed or roasted or grilled before eating. Now some foodstuffs can be eaten raw also. Raw means kacha. Like I told you, we can eat tomatoes kacha. Someone gives you a plate full of tomatoes. You can eat it kacha. You can eat it raw without cooking it. Okay. So some foodstuffs can be eaten raw. See here. Apples and watermelon and oranges, they can be eaten raw. So some foodstuffs can be eaten raw. What about some other foodstuffs here? See, these are grapes, a bunch of grapes. You can just eat them raw, isn't it? Look at the next one. See, what is this girl eating? She's eating lots of carrots and cucumber and tomatoes, and she's going to eat all of them raw. Okay, raw food is also very good for health, but then you should wash the food properly before eating, because when the food is cooked, the germs on it gets destroyed. But when you eat something kacha and if it is not washed properly, all the germs will enter your stomach and make you sick. So you're supposed to wash food properly before eating it raw. Alright, so see, you can not only eat vegetables raw, children, you can also eat a number of fruits raw. So see, there are grapes here, there are cherries, a strawberry, watermelon, kiwi. There are so many fruits which you can just cut and you can eat raw. Alright, some foods are roasted or fried like we saw. So see the papad, here it is being roasted, here the papad is being fried in oil. So these are all the different ways in which you eat food, you cook food. See, peanuts, what do you call it? Moongfali or shengdana in Marathi. See, when you roast it with nice salt, is your mouth watering? Mine is watering. Okay, so we love to eat such kind of food. Roasted peanuts. Now children, we talked about all the ways in which we cook food. Now to remember that in order to cook the food, we need to use something for cooking it, for giving it heat, and that is called as fuel. So now let us see what are the different kind of fuels that we use. So we use the LPG cylinder in cities. Nowadays in cities we also have piped gas connections, that you need not use a cylinder at all. Just like water comes into your house in pipes, you have the gas also coming into your house in pipes. Okay, then we make use of kerosene in some places. Some place else we make use of charcoal also for cooking. Okay, so all these things which are used in order to create heat for cooking food are called as fuel. And these are the different kind of fuels. Okay, see. Now there are certain things which can burn in order to give heat. For example, we can burn coal, we can burn logs of wood, we can burn the LPG gas, we can burn the kerosene. All these things, children, are called as combustible substances. What are they called? They are called as combustible substances. Combustible substances means substances which can burn in order to produce heat and light. They are called as combustible substances. Okay, so this is one extra information for you. See, camphor is also combustible. When we do Aarti for Ganpati, we burn the camphor, isn't it? We call it as kapur. This is also combustible, but we do not use it to cook food, okay? But remember, camphor is also combustible. That means it can burn. But there are some things which cannot burn. For example, see, sand cannot burn, stone cannot burn. So all these things are called as non-combustible. So there are two kinds of things. One which can catch fire, we call them combustible. Some things which cannot catch fire, we call them non-combustible substances. Okay, see, water is also non-combustible because water cannot catch fire. It cannot burn. In fact, we use water in order to put out fires. Okay, so water is non-combustible. See, these are all the things that we use for cooking. All the combustible things we use for cooking. Gas, we use cooking gas. We use different kinds of, you can say, twigs and wood that people gather from the forest. Okay, people make use of charcoal. See, this is how food is cooked. See, this is kerosene, combustible, which people make use of to cook. They pour the kerosene in the stoves and they use the stoves in order to cook their food. See, these are different kind of stoves. Pump stoves, these stoves create a lot of noise. Alright, nowadays you cannot find these stoves too much around you. Very less people in cities use these kind of stoves. People make use of gas for cooking. Nowadays, electricity can also be made use of for cooking. So what is this? This is an induction cooker. Induction top, we call it, cooktop, where it is connected to the electricity. So this kind of cooking will not generate any kind of sound. It will not give out heat in the surrounding also. When you light gas, when you light chulha, sometimes there is too much heat in the kitchen. Okay, and when you light chulha, there is too much of smoke also. But when you use the induction, this is pollution free. It doesn't bring out any smoke. So this is also one way in which people are cooking nowadays. And of course, people are using biogas in the villages to cook. So because of this, what is happening? The waste is also being used properly. The waste which is generated from animals, from human beings. Okay, so this is all collected and biogas is generated. This is a very good way of cooking. And then you have solar cookers also, which will never get over. Solar energy will never get over. As long as the sun is shining in the sky, you will have solar energy to use. Okay, so this is solar cooker. See, this is how solar cookers are used. The big plate like thing, it pulls the sunlight towards it and it creates heat. And the thing which is kept inside the vessel cooks automatically. See, you have these kind of solar cooking panels also, which use solar energy for cooking. And nowadays, children, we also make use of air fryers for cooking. So see, you can fry without any oil. Air is used in order to fry the food. Like I told you, you should not eat fried food because fried food contains a lot of oil. But here you will see, food is fried not using oil. Amazingly, it is fried using air. So it is healthy. It is fried also and it is healthy also. So children, did you enjoy this trip to the kitchen? So inside the kitchen, we saw what all food is cooked. We saw what are the various methods in which we cook food. We saw what are the different kind of fuels that we use in order to cook food. We also looked at certain kinds of food which can be eaten raw, that is kacha. Okay, and after that, we also saw the various types of methods in which you cook. Okay, so this was all about the lesson inside the kitchen, which is lesson number 14 from your EVS textbook. So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions and note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.